Good morning, everybody. As Wendy has already said, I'm Jimmy Fenton. I'm the Vice President of Northern Ireland Safety Group, and I'm also part of the Health, Safety and Wellbeing team at Ulster University. Just by way of introduction, you'll remember, if you were there, we did an in-person meeting last year where myself and one of the safety partners, Emma Toner, now Emma Hasley, presented how we rebooted health and safety at Ulster University. And this is the next phase of this, so I'm going to basically just hand over to Claire and Charlene now to introduce wellbeing at Ulster University, if you like, or part of wellbeing at Ulster University, post the health and safety bit that Emma and I did last year. So Claire, I'm going to just hand over to you now.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy. I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully everyone can see that screen now. Okay.
That's perfect.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. So good morning, everyone. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Nicola and Jimmy, for inviting us to come along this morning. We really appreciate this opportunity to tell you and the members here today about our WorkWell programme and how we have and talk basically through some of our approaches that we have used within the WorkWell programme, and then to give some kind of learnings and thoughts to how each of the organisations that are here that might be able to adapt some of our learnings as well, if they're going to adopt this approach in their own organisations, and how to manage work-related stress and support wellbeing within their own sectors and organisations. So as Jimmy mentioned, my name is Claire Kelly, and I'm joined today as well by my colleague Charlene Murphy. And we both support the development and the delivery of the WorkWell programme at Ulster University. So again, we're delighted to share some of our experience and some of our learnings with you this morning on this webinar. So how would the structure of the webinar, what we're going to kind of cover today? So obviously we're going to talk a little around the HSE management standards and how we have adopted that approach to try and manage and mitigate stress in Ulster University. I'm also going to talk to you around how we've used the process itself and how we've used surveys and etc. to facilitate discussion and capture some staff experiences and opinions, etc. We will be talking to you then as well around turning some of the wellbeing data that we have gathered throughout the process here and how we've turned that wellbeing data into some actions and some local level actions. And then we're going to give you some key insights as well, some of our learnings as well. So hopefully you might find some of those things useful this morning. Okay, so that's where we are. We are called the WorkWell programme, and it's about applying the HSE management standards in practice at Ulster University. So just before we begin, just for the group, I'm not sure how much experience or how much the group will know around the HSE management standards, but the management standards, the approach that we are adopting, obviously was devised by the Health and Safety Executive back in 2004, so it's around quite a bit. But what it basically was designed and developed to do was to help organisations assess and manage stress risks. It's a primary framework. It's known as a best practice approach. It's not the only way to do it, but what it encourages and what it looks at is around the 6 key areas of work design that, if they are managed well, they can reflect high levels of health and wellbeing in our organisations. And the 6 key areas of work design are, for example, the demands of people's jobs. So that's things around workload, work scheduling, the pace intensity of work, etc. It's also around the control that people would have in their jobs as well. So for example, how much say do people have in the way they do their work, etc. How much decision or how much autonomy do they have in making decisions in their work. The next one there is support. Support is really includes the encouragement and sponsorship and resources that are provided by the organisation, but it also includes line management support and peer support as well, and colleague support. So again, it also includes things around what practical and emotional support is available even as well within your organisations. The next standard there is around relationships, and really this relationship standard includes promoting positive working relationships, and that's so that we can avoid things like conflict and obviously dealing with maybe things like unacceptable behaviour. So that's the relationship standard. The next standard is around role, and role is whether, for example, people understand how their role fits in within the organisation. Do they understand what they're expected of them, etc.? Is there clarity around their roles, etc. as well? And the last standard is around change. And really, we all know lots of organisations, including our own, go through lots of change, and the pace of change can be quite fast. So it's not about a particular change that's happened, but it's about how organisational change, large or small, is managed, and how well is that communicated within our organisations, and how well staff are consulted. So again, those are the 6 key management standard areas which are focused around the management standards approach that we are looking at. And again, that set of conditions that if they're managed well, they can reflect high levels of health and well-being. And unfortunately, if they're not managed well, they can cause or maybe exacerbate work-related stress. So that's what the approach that we have decided to follow, and we've agreed obviously with our trade unions, etc. as well. But I'll mention a wee bit more about that later on throughout the webinar. So why did we adopt it? Well, again, I mentioned already, it's a best practice approach. It's not the only way to do it, but we decided it'd be good for us that we followed a best practice approach that has been tried and tested, and it's been around for a long number of years. Charlene will talk to you a wee bit around about being the proactive and on the levels of interventions, but it's this approach that we're using as a primary preventative measure and our intervention that we are using, and it's a proactive approach to managing stress and well-being, and we want to try and see if we can get in there early and intervene early before it can maybe exacerbate stress or cause stress, or maybe cause someone to go off work due to work-related stress. The standards itself then, obviously we're using a stress indicator tool, so it can use existing data to understand what's happening. So it's like taking the temperature of what's happening now within our organisations. And the data changes an awful lot, and we'll talk a wee bit about that later on. But it's about using what data as well that we already have in the organisation and the approach to shape how we are going forward with the WorkWell programme. It can provide clear data-driven insights for our schools and departments. So again, we are doing this at school and local level, so it can provide clear information for each of our schools and departments, and we'll say a wee bit more about that later as well. But again, the main thing is what we want to do is we want to strengthen the culture, we want to strengthen communication, and we also want to strengthen our leadership behaviours as well within our organisation, which is why we have adopted that. A very, very important part, and again, we're obviously on the Northern Ireland Safety Group committee as well, and it's that we're meeting, and as you all will know, we're meeting our legal duties on stress risks assessment. So that's another reason, obviously, why we're doing. But what we want out of this ourselves is we want that to lead to some meaningful action plans and actions being taken from the information and the data that we are following. So that is the reason that we have adopted the approach within Ulster University. So I'm just going to hand over to Charlene now to tell you again another wee bit and explore why it is important and in a wee bit more detail.
Thank you, Claire. So we launched the programme in September 2024, and the WorkWell programme represents, as Claire mentioned, a strategic primary preventative wellbeing intervention which aims to empower schools and departments to assess aspects of work design that directly impact on employee wellbeing before they escalate. This provides each unique school and department within the organisation with important insights and the opportunity to improve their wellbeing culture through collective action. The WorkWell programme is central to Ulster University's People, Place and Partnership Strategy and the People and Culture and Operating Plan. As Claire mentioned, it is also a legal obligation for us to do what we can to mitigate stress risk in whatever way reasonably practical. WorkWell has been informed by the OSHA guidance for managing work-related stress within the higher education sector. And as Claire said, it has been designed to proactively embed a culture where staff feel supported, valued and empowered, and we have focused the implementation at local level for bespoke improvements. So before starting, we reviewed the wellbeing interventions that were already in place at UU, and we mapped these across the 3 levels of intervention: primary, secondary and tertiary, as you can see on the screen. We noticed that, like many organisations, that we were very good at secondary and tertiary support, but that we could definitely do more at the primary intervention level, and that's where WorkWell comes in. If you want to just move on to the next slide, Claire. Yeah. So this little graphic just kind of is to show that we are committed at Ulster University to an upstream approach, investing in early preventative interventions to strengthen people and teams before the crisis emerged. So help them up before they fall in upstream. And this is where WorkWell comes in to mitigate against the negative impact of stress at work. So before launching, Claire and I did a lot of prep work, and that started out with mapping the programme to the UU's organisational structure to enable us to make sure our surveys were meaningful. So what we did was we looked across the 3,100 staff that we have, the 42 schools and departments, and we also took into consideration that we operate across multi-campuses. This meant that we were able to identify at local levels where support was needed. We then drew on further information and data, including our sickness absence data, wellbeing scores from our Valuing Voices survey, which took place in 2023, which was a university-wide sort of People's Voice survey. We also gained insight through meetings with our employee wellbeing advisors, people partners and people development partners on maybe what was going on the ground in specific schools and departments. And we also looked at emerging themes from exit interviews. This allowed us to build a clear picture of what staff were experiencing in the university and where we needed to focus our attention. And I'll just hand back over to Claire.
Thanks, Charlene. So the process itself, would that be useful to explain the process itself that we're following to the HSE Management Standards approach? So like any risk assessment, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with carrying out risk assessments from each of your industries. This is a risk assessment approach, as we mentioned, so it's like following the 5 steps. So the first step is obviously identifying your hazards. So the hazards we identified have been identified already for us as the demands of people's job, the control they have, the support, relationship, role and change. So those are the 6 key areas of work design. And again, like I mentioned earlier, if they're managed and designed well, that they can reflect high levels of health and wellbeing. So if those are our hazards. So the next step is to obviously check, who could be harmed and how. And really what we did here at Ulster University, we purchased the HSE, validated HSE SIT tool, which is the stress indicator tool. And we were able to use that stress indicator tool, and as Charlene mentioned, they're doing it at each local level. So we were able to create the survey, add in demographics, and we were able to issue those surveys out to each of our local schools and departments across the university as well. So we did that, and we were able to then gather our quantitative data from the survey. Now, the quantitative data is great. It tells us we get a lot of data that we can maybe drill down into by using the SIT tool. As well as that, what we decided to do with ours is we decided we need to support this as well with some qualitative information. And obviously the process encourages facilitating focus group discussions with staff. So myself and Charlene each ran various focus groups for each of the different schools. We would have done this, for example, by role, by grade. Again, we're multi-campus, so we travelled to each of the campuses, and so we were making sure that we were hearing staff voice and getting a good representative of the staff within each school or department. So we would have facilitated the focus group sessions. Following those sessions, then what we did then was the tool itself that we have purchased was able to create a bespoke report, which we added obviously and added on the information regarding focus groups, etc. into that. And we were able to provide those findings then back to each of the heads of schools or departments by providing them with a bespoke local report as well. And we obviously there was we give them some bit of thematic analysis and some of the findings. And one of the things I wanted to kind of mention, which was a very, very important thing around the focus groups, the focus groups were structured around the 6 key areas, the demands, control, support, but as well as having conversations around those areas, what we were encouraging staff to give us was potential solutions that we could feed that back to each of the heads of schools department as a starting point for the development of the action plans. So we made the focus groups very solution focused, because staff on the ground, they're the people that are doing the job, they are the people that probably know best what might work well, etc. So that's where we thought it was very, very important, and it was it's very rich data that we were gathering there at the focus group sessions. Sometimes people tend to jump from stage 2, which is the survey, to jump and not facilitate focus groups and maybe go ahead with the report. But I think that's one thing that I would encourage, that facilitating the focus group and putting that wee bit of work in and talking to your staff and finding out what's happening was a very important part of the process. So once the school or department would have received their report, we would have followed that up with management briefings, and we would have met with each of the head of school, explaining the report, etc., explaining some of the solutions, and then again agreeing with them that there would be a development of an action plan based on the findings and the data that we had gathered. And we tried to encourage that collaborative action planning again with staff. So it's about creating that open and honest space, and that for honest conversation, and that's what we're trying to promote through this programme as well, so that staff feel heard, but as well as that they're actually seeing actions being taken from the surveys that they were doing. And as part of the whole process itself, like any risk assessment that must be reviewed, because wellbeing takes a little bit of time to embed, rather than reviewing annually, it is encouraged that you would review and maybe run the survey possibly every 24 months or every 2 years. So that's the bespoke process of continuous improvement that we are doing. And at the moment, as Charlene mentioned, we've done a 2-year programme. We are currently coming to the end of our 2-year programme, and we've run out and are currently still running out some surveys, etc., this last quarter as well. So again, I've kind of mentioned a lot of this already, but applying the process here at UU, but this might be useful for the like of yourselves as well. It's very, very important that you get that senior management engagement. It's very, very important that you get the senior management buy-in. We were very, very lucky in our position that obviously there was resource allocated, which was myself and Charlene, to work on this and design and deliver and develop on this programme as well. So we had that senior management buy-in, which was excellent for the like of us. But we also needed the buy-in as well from each of the heads or schools or department, because obviously they have lots of different action plans that they're doing, but it was even we needed to have that. So we would have met and done initial briefings with each of our senior managers at the different heads of schools or departments, and we would have met with them explaining the process and encouraging them to make sure that staff were aware of what the process was about, and obviously communicate early with staff about the process. Preparing the organisation, again, that was one of the things that we needed to mention out to our staff. So we needed to let the staff know. So we used things like our SharePoint. We had videos done by our Chief People Officer, etc. And those were all put on our internal communication channels so that staff knew what the programme was about. Charlene mentioned we launched it on World Mental Health Day, which was in October 2024. And that's when we launched it on that particular day. Even around the programme name, so obviously we called ours the WorkWell programme, and we had to give careful consideration, because as we know, the word stress can quite have a negative connotation. So we wanted to make sure that we were again looking at how we can work well, rather than and that's what we give consideration to when we were actually naming the programme. But also, as well as that, it aligned with our WorkWell Expo that we do every year here within the Ulster University as well. So again, the naming convention, people were already familiar with that, and we used that in our naming details. So have a think about that if you're rolling out this programme in your own area. I mentioned before the school and department briefings prior to the launch. So at that stage we met the head of schools, but we would have given them the dates that their survey were going live, the dates that their focus groups were going to be scheduled. So we tried to give the head of school each of that, and we provided templates through each stage of the process that they could use to issue out as correspondence. So that meant that everyone was kind of getting the same message. I've mentioned this already before around the data collection, but we used the stress indicator tool, which was developed by the Health and Safety Executive. It allowed for that quantitative data, but also we included an open text response as well, so that staff could give suggestions as well around maybe what things around wellbeing might help in their own specific areas. Once we created the survey, we would have issued the survey link and a QR code, because they're very specific to each area, to the head of school that they could send out to their staffing. And we conducted this quarterly. As Charlene mentioned, and we had quite a number of schools and departments that we had to roll this out across. So we decided it was more manageable to do on a quarterly basis. So say, for example, September to December, January to April. So we did it that way because as well, the data was always changing, but it allows us as well a wee bit of flexibility in case we needed to maybe move areas into different, or bring an area forward, or maybe push an area, depending on what was happening within each school or department. The focus groups, we randomly selected staff. Obviously, there's only the two of us, so we couldn't talk to all of the staff. Again, we have 3,100 staff. So what we did in each of the local areas, we would have randomly selected those staff. We made sure they were represented by job category, etc., by grade, their role, etc. And again, we did the on-campus. I mentioned already, we tried to make those very solution-based or solution-focused discussions. The thematic analysis, again, we combined the survey and the focus group, and we gave a thematic report for each school or department, and those highlighted some key issues and some potential solutions so that they could use that with their staff to start developing an action plan with their staff. And again, that's what the last point is around that collaborative action planning, and that is what we want to make sure, because we all have responsibility around wellbeing. So again, staff, we wanted to make sure staff had their voice heard and that it was co-produced with the staff, because it was their results and their solutions, and it was just creating that starting point for them with the head of school and their staff to look at action planning. I'm just handing back over to Charlene.
Sort of alluded to the fact that we run our survey on a quarterly basis. We've split the schools and departments up over a 2-year cycle, and we're just coming to the end of our first 2-year cycle. In that time so far, since October 2024 when we've launched, we have completed 34 schools and departments and provided them with bespoke WorkWell reports. So we have a further 8 in progress, which will take us to the end of our cycle, which is due to end in June this year. As Claire mentioned, we've taken the quarterly approach, which we find more manageable and allowed us to be flexible with the programme to take into consideration change in sickness absence data or sort of any insights that we may get from employee wellbeing or people partners. And we will likely take this approach again in cycle 2. Surveys and focus groups, as Claire said, are only part of the process, and action planning comes next and can take longer to develop due to the collaborative nature that we are sort of really strongly encouraging within the teams within the university. We're really pleased that so far we have 21 action plans completed and in implementation. There has been a number of schools and departments that we have sort of provided wraparound support for, and we've collaborated with our P&C colleagues to do that. We've also facilitated action planning clinics, and Claire and I would hold, as she mentioned before, one-to-ones with heads of schools and departments post-survey to review any action planning points that they may want to consider going forward. As Claire also mentioned, we do really have that institutional support, and we have formed a WorkWell subgroup, which is actually chaired by our Deputy Vice-Chancellor. So this group allows us the opportunity to raise issues that are outside of the control of the heads of schools and departments, and also some issues that staff may want raised that are actually even outside the WorkWell sort of remit, such as contracts and pay. We were really delighted that this year our programme won the overall award for health and wellbeing at the 2025 USHA Awards. And that just shows we picture Claire receiving that award with our colleague David from Employee Wellbeing as well. So we are in, like I said, the end of this first cycle, and we have been collecting the data for all the schools and departments as we go forward, just to get a cumulative picture of where the university is sitting in relation to each of the standards. And we find that's really helpful for schools and departments as we go across the programme, because they can see how they align to how the university is performing as a whole. I've got up here the health and safety public sector benchmark and the higher education sector benchmarks. And you can see that the two sort of lower scoring areas would be demands and change. And certainly we are finding in the university that we are also aligning to that. Just move ahead. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, we're currently coming to the end of our first cycle, and it's still in its infancy, and Claire and I really take a continuous improvement approach. But what we are seeing and hearing so far, that the WorkWell assessment process has created many positive impacts at Ulster, such as creating a safe and structured approach and opportunity for staff to express their experiences, leading to increased trust and a stronger sense of being heard. Heads of schools and departments are gaining clarity on key cultural challenges, from workload pressures to communication needs, and they're able to prioritise what they're doing next based on evidence. Staff have appreciated the balanced approach, which highlighted strengths such as strong peer support alongside areas needing improvement. And it is also strengthening relationships between schools and departments and the likes of P&C, where we're providing that sort of extra support post-survey to specifically the schools and departments that may need that. Schools and departments and leaderships are collaborating with their teams to develop meaningful action plans based on the staff feedback. So this slide that we're just showing here is just some of the key findings and themes that we have found coming out of the surveys. So managers, it has been highlighted that they need to feel more confident and equipped when responding to signs of stress and indeed having challenging conversations. We've also identified that there's a strong need for more proactive approaches for managing wellbeing before they escalate. Staff have experienced a desire for clear communication around what wellbeing support is available and what is expected of managers and teams in terms of their development appraisals, employee assistance and occupational health. How workload is managed and distributed is consistently identified as major drivers of stress. And staff are also reporting that large-scale and directorate-level changes can feel confusing and frustrating due to the lack of consultation. We also are very keen to collect information on what is working well and what staff really appreciate and value in the university, because I think it's really important that senior leaders know that, so that they know what they're doing well and what they can continue to build on and keep doing. So it's not all a negative feedback approach. So employees are really reporting that they enjoy the campus environment, and the fact that we are multi-campus means that we have lots of staff that are able to work locally. They're reporting staff satisfaction with collaborative working relationships across teams and campuses, and also a wide range of colleagues and indeed students. There is a real sense of pride of working for the university and a real sense of job satisfaction of doing meaningful work, as well as the variety of work that staff are involved in, and also the opportunities in the university for their own personal development.
Thank you, Charlene. So again, the data that Charlene has mentioned, some of the things that we have found, but we wanted to take that data now and say, well, how can we turn that into action? So based on some of the findings that we have, and Charlene has mentioned this, we are now continuing to provide wraparound support for schools and departments so that they can implement meaningful action plans as well. So for example, staff or heads of schools might find that they need a little bit of support from other areas within people and culture team. So maybe they reach the people development team around value-led teams. So it just is very, very specific to each area and on their needs. But again, we are creating those links with each of the other teams within people and culture so that they can support the head of school and how to take forward the action plan. With regards to even the manager and the manager capability and things around that, about having those difficult conversations, etc., we have explored how we can improve that manager confidence, and we have now got a full day with regards to wellbeing on the new manager experience course. So that is something that we've just piloted as well, and we're doing that going forward. So we're able to talk about wellbeing, talk about the WorkWell program and how they can use the WorkWell program at a team level and at an individual level if they need to, using, for example, maybe the talking toolkits, which I will mention. Charlene mentioned around the support that people maybe weren't fully aware of what support, even around that practical emotional support, what is available. So again, we're continuing to promote and proactive support approaches in the UU around the employee assistance program, the employee wellbeing advisors, the occupational, even our SharePoint, we've upgraded some of those, and as well, again, we mentioned the people and culture support. We are continuing ourselves at our level to work with our employee experience team to enhance follow-up support again in those that there's some areas that maybe were a little more challenging. So again, we've provided extra support to those areas. And just kind of going back to this, we're continuing, as Charlene mentioned, to escalate any cumulative results or themes to the WorkWell subgroup. So there's some things when we're in the focus groups maybe fall outside the remit of the WorkWell program. So again, we would maybe take note of those, but we're feeding those things back up through the WorkWell subgroup as well. And again, what we're also trying to do is to align with existing standards to strengthen Ulster University's approach to wellbeing. So that's what we're trying to do, align with other standards as well, so that we're taking action from that as well. Now, some local level actions, obviously Charlene mentioned that the number of action plans we have, so I thought it might be useful to even just some of the actions that at local level or school department level that they are taking, going on the feedback that they have had from the WorkWell survey and the focus groups and their report. So there's one particular area, there's a number, but I've just kind of picked out a few. One of the areas has created a specific wellbeing SharePoint site for their staff within the faculty. Other areas are making sure that, because their managers maybe attend the new manager experience training course as well, and making sure that they're signed up as soon as that they join. Other areas have taken forward some of the actions they're doing are, for example, they're making sure that they're sharing and highlighting positive feedback on their Directorate Teams channel. So again, we're always encouraging them to celebrate the successes as well, and for example, and share those positive feedback that they have, because I think we're all so busy in our day-to-day jobs, you sometimes forget to do that. So again, but sometimes the simplest actions have had the biggest impact. So again, if you're thinking about this in your own area, don't underestimate how important some of those small changes can be, and some of those small actions can make to staff's well-being. There's one particular area around the relationship standard where are promoting the Green Dot training, active bystander training, and that's around to how to dealing with conflict, etc. as well. Another area was team capacity being assessed against current and planned work, so around the workload to ensure that they're achievable and helping to manage the risks of stress. So that's something they have put on their agenda, and that's something that we're encouraging each area to do. If you're having your team meetings, for example, normally health and safety would be at the top of the agenda, so we're encouraging staff to maybe take one of the standards each of their team meetings, which would fall under the health. So for example, maybe at one team meeting, or if you're doing a toolbox talk or whatever, you might want to look at demands. If you're another month, you might want to look at change, and depending on your survey results, it will dictate what way you take this forward. Other areas you'll see there, I'll give you a chance to read them yourselves. They've created a wellbeing social committee. One of the finance areas, they decided that the digitisation of the forms. So because there was maybe a form that was being done manually, something like digitising the form has made their work try and reduce the workload and the impact of the demands. So they have done that. Again, somebody has introduced a digital suggestion scheme to provide staff with an informal mechanism to suggest improvements as well. And another one of our areas has, with regards to the number of emails in their particular area, staff had reported that they got a lot of emails, so they have reduced their emails to only 3 school emails and 2 research emails per week, because we have a lot of research staff as well here at the university. And also they agreed, because of the different maybe working patterns, they've agreed that emails would be sent between the working hours of 9 to 5, because what we have been finding, and it's probably the same in many of your own organisations, maybe people are on maybe late at night actually sending emails, and staff do feel maybe a need to respond. So even maybe someone who's part-time hours, if there's a meeting arranged in the time that they're not actually supposed to be working, staff sometimes felt that they needed to either reply or attend that meeting. So these things are going to be very specific to each of your areas or each of your organisations and what you do. But that was just some of our local level actions that we had taken from some of the action plans that we have received in. Now, like any project, again, we thought it was important to kind of mention some of our key challenges. So as Charlene mentioned already, this is a process of ongoing or continuous improvement for us too, and we are learning and taking feedback through pulse surveys, through checking in with our heads of schools, etc. But some of the key challenges that we would have found, even with the like of this, preparing the organisation, it was getting the information out to because we're quite a large organisation, and that was one of our key challenges. We needed to think about how we were going to do that, how we were going to make sure, because everybody has busy schedules and busy workloads. Our staff are a lot of academic as well here, as well as business support staff, but again timings as well. We are split geographically across 4 campuses, so as you may know, so again, the size of the organisation, we needed to consider the location and the distribution of how we were going to distribute. So again, for an example, some of our staff maybe do not have access to computers. So if we were sending the survey code out and the QR code and the survey link through email and they don't access computers, so again, that was something we needed to think about. Maybe did they need to fill in a hard copy survey, how we were going to do that. The organisation we work in, we have quite a complex structure. There's different faculties, there's different schools, there's different departments. We needed to try and work out our timings when we were going to do that, what was happening in each of the areas as well. And so again, by keeping communication and communicating with our people partners, our wellbeing advisors, and even heads of schools and departments as well, that helped us with that approach as well. There's such a wide variety of job roles and work types, and again, you're probably going to find that you will have that in your own organisation, but you need to take that into consideration. Here, because we're an educational setting as well, we were operating within the constraints of the academic year. So again, even arranging, focus groups, etc., we needed to find out whether that would work. Maybe academic staff were teaching, and when they'd be teaching. So again, we needed to take those things into consideration. Managing survey fatigue. This was something obviously I mentioned, surveys upon surveys, etc. as well. When we actually spoke to staff, what we actually did fear, or what we heard from staff, was it wasn't necessarily around the managing the survey fatigue, but it was maybe, that they wanted to see more actions happening. So again, that was something, and again, that helped us because we wanted to make sure that this process, we went right through each of the steps, and that action planning was done, and that they were involved in it. So again, and keeping this whole process, yes, we're on a 2-year programme at the moment, and we're coming to the end of that. Yes, we're still in its infancy, but we need to keep the momentum going. So how do we do that? How do we keep it alive and meaningful? So things that we've done, we've recreated our SharePoint page. We link in with one of the campus wellbeing advisor who has regularly puts out inside articles for staff. So we would try to keep it on the agenda with maybe, say, for example, April is Stress Awareness Day, and create links like that. And obviously our internal communications as well. And so that's why we try to keep it alive and within the organisation. You might be saying, what benefit has it for you and your organisation? But the benefits of doing this, obviously, you will be meeting your legal requirement doing this. Like I said at the beginning, it's a best practice approach. It's not the only way to do it, but it is a step-by-step approach that you can do. And by adapting the standards, the HSE management standards, it can improve morale. Obviously, we're looking at as well improving our well-being and the engagement that we have within staff. For any of you, obviously we're on the Northern Ireland Safety Group session here. For any of you with regards to working on sites or etc. like that, if someone's well-being is affected, it can affect maybe their judgment. So if they're maybe, for example, operating heavy machinery, if they're maybe doing high intensity work, it can maybe affect their concentration, etc., and maybe cause distractions. And obviously you need to think about the implications of that for you. Would it lead to accidents, incidents on your sites? And again, so that's what obviously you wouldn't want. So by looking at wellness and managing the stress, it could possibly reduce your safety incidents as well. Improve team cohesion, reduce conflict. These are all the things that the standards are trying to do. Hopefully for the like of yourselves, if you're managing your well-being as well of your staff, that it can strengthen the safety, like I mentioned just in that previous point. But also, good work is good for people. So if people are coming to work and they are feeling well, it can also boost, not only reduce the safety incidents, but it can also boost productivity as well, which every organisation would be striving for. As regards organisational reputation, there's obviously lots of different case law and case studies out there, as you know, and obviously, if you have an accident or an incident, whether it be to do with well-being or whether to do with a safety incident, it can affect your organisational reputations as well. But if you're doing that, if you're you could become an employer of choice if you're managing them well. And obviously we're meeting our compliance, so you will have good reputation with maybe tender boards, or obviously the regulator or health and safety executive for Northern Ireland as well. Long term, we're hoping as well that it will reduce absenteeism and turnover as well. So we are keeping an eye on the data for that as well, which Charlene has collected, and we're collecting that data over the 2-year programme. We will have a bigger picture, or a fuller picture now, when we complete this first cycle. Again, for example, have a chat with your insurance companies around your insurance premiums. If you're adhering to relevant standards, could that be a good benefit to you as well? But really, the reason that we're doing this, it delivers long-term sustainable wellbeing benefits, and also leading to better and safer sites, enhancing your employer reputation, but also for the long-term wellbeing of you and your staff as well. So I kind of just want to finish up really around, if you're adopting this approach, or however you're going to manage or mitigate stress within your own organisation, just a few key insights that might be useful as well for yourselves. So, for example, it is a risk assessment process. Try to keep it as simple as you can. Don't overcomplicate it. If you're adopting this approach, you might want to pilot it in a certain area. You might want to pilot it on a certain site that you're working on, for example. We would also encourage you to gather any data that you have, build on existing strengths that you already have in your organisation. You will have lots of information at your fingertips in your organisations. And again, you may have to reach out and ask for maybe your human resource department, or maybe you will have all that data yourself, if you're a smaller organisation. But again, you will have key successes, and you might want to highlight that. You may already have carried out detailed risk assessments, dependent safety, again, or site-based assessments. So use any information that you've got. If you've done previous surveys, you might want to use some of information. So, what we did, we actually tapped into other surveys as well that we had to find out wellbeing scores, etc., to see where we could slot each of our schools or departments in the schedule. Use what already you have in place. So you may have certain policies already in place. You may have a wellbeing policy. You may have a separate stress policy. Maybe your stress policy is embedded in your wellbeing policy, but have a look at what policy, have a look at how that is structured. Again, there are samples policies on the HSE website of each of, breaking it down on each of what roles or responsibilities of managers, of human resources, etc. And even so you could fit your wellbeing and your stress policy in around that. One good thing that we found really beneficial was if you are able to create a steering group to drive this forward. So again, you might already have a group, a wellbeing committee or something within your areas, and maybe you could tap in this approach in with the steering group that you have already there. But again, like I mentioned in the previous slide, having someone with the interest in this and the drive is good to help it drive forward and keep that momentum going, and keep an ownership of the project as well. Review your existing data. As I said already, you probably have lots of different, maybe absence data, exit interviews like ourselves. Whatever data you have, try to use that as well. Preparing the organisation, even though this is a 5-step risk assessment approach, I find one of the key areas is to prepare your organisation and prepare your staff for what this is about. Set the expectation, build up the awareness of it. That may be just, through your internal communications, etc. But just don't land the survey on people's desks and not explaining what it's about. So I found that was a key area that that we would say, make sure that you're preparing your staff and preparing your organisation for the survey and the process. Engage early with people. Again, make sure that you're consulting and communicating, because that gets better buy-in. You want maybe to ensure that you have appropriate numbers filling in the survey. If you have, the standards will show you the recommended numbers of survey responses. We know it's very hard to obviously get 100% in surveys. But obviously we're keeping an eye on that, even what our survey responses and our engagement. But the more people that fill in the survey, you're getting a truer picture of what is happening in your teams or in your organisation as well. So make sure that you engage early as well if you're going to adopt this process, and consult widely. Consult with your trade union representatives, consult with your health and safety representatives from the start. Keep them involved in that process, and you can do that by maybe bringing and having representatives on your steering group. So representatives from your trade unions, your representatives, And we have been doing that as well. And our trade union representatives come along to our Workwell subgroup as well. We have some representation there, and we keep them through, involved in what surveys are live, etc., and ask them to encourage their staff or their members, to complete the process. As part of the process, I would encourage you as well, tap into the support that's available. You've lots of peer support in this group that you're in as well. The Health and Safety Executive have mentors that can guide you through the process. There's lots of free tools and templates on their website. It's a step-by-step process, and that's there, so tap into those. And what we would also as well, and what we're trying to do, and what we're in Ulster University, is encourage that collective ownership. Obviously, the legislation is out there, with regards to health and safety, and we all as employees have a responsibility and a duty as well under the legislation. But well-being belongs to everyone. It's not just a manager's responsibility. We all are responsible for our own well-being as well. So it's important to make sure that that theme of that collective ownership will be brought across through this process as well. So I hope that has been useful for you. That is just some key insights we thought we would share with you. I've mentioned this already. The Health and Safety Executive have a mental wellbeing advisory team. If you want to look up their website, you can contact the advisors. They may be able to be in a position. I know that this time of year is actually very, very busy for them, but I had been speaking to my colleagues a few weeks ago, and they had mentioned that they possibly maybe later on the year might be able to be in a position to maybe host a survey and maybe help you, even mentor you through that process. So reach out to that, check out their resource page. As I said, there's lots of different resources. You can download the basic templates and then make them your own for your own organisation, make them specific. And I also wanted to mention, we are encouraging our managers to use, for example, the Talking Toolkit. So the Health and Safety Executive as well have a Talking Toolkit, and we're encouraging our managers, even within their teams, and if they have to at an individual level, use that as a template, because it gives you just some suggestions of questions to ask, even around each of the 6 standard areas, and maybe some potential solutions as well that you might be able to implement into your teams or etc. as well. And there also are prompt cards as well with potential solutions on the HSE website. So there's a generic Talking Toolkit, but on the HSE GB website, there's a Talking Toolkit for construction. There's also a Talking Toolkit for the NHS service providers, and obviously they are going to be GB. They will relate to GB, but they will also have links to companies, etc., or support in GB. So just be mindful of that. But also there is a Talking Toolkit one as well for schools. And again, if you check out their website, those things are sources of support for you as well. So I just want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to tell you a wee bit about our programme, and we're happy to answer any questions that may have come in, Wendy or Nicola.
Okay, thank you very much, Claire and Charlene, for your informative presentation. And before I turn to the Q&A, I'll start with the first question. Now, there are a couple of parts to it. So with regards to the focus groups, you have emphasised the importance of this part. How do you get the staff to interact at the focus groups? Do all staff turn up? How many should you have in a group, and how can you have too many? So there you go, there's 4 questions in one.
Okay, so like I mentioned, so we would randomly select staff, so we would issue them out an invite to come along, explaining what's involved in the process. Depending on their work schedule, we try to do it as much in advance as we can, because obviously people have teaching, etc. as well. So we don't obviously get everybody to come along, but we tend to maybe over invite because we know that we won't get everyone to engage. Numbers, we try in each of the focus groups to keep it maybe between 6 and 10. Because it's more manageable. You only have around 90 minutes, so we've set them around 90 minutes because we want to make them obviously very solution focused and keep them very on point. So we would try to roughly, when they have around 6 to 10. We do them in person. We find that works better being in a room. Okay, now where it has, there have been a number of occasions that we've had to move them online, but we prefer to be in the room because you're able to engage with people much better. You're able to maybe read body language. You're able to kind of, see what's happening in the room. And what we try to, we're facilitators. So what we would do is explain explain at the very, very beginning and set out that contract at the beginning with them and say why we're here, what the purpose of them are, of the focus groups are, and that we are looking to them around what might work well. So we always started off on a positive and tell us what's good about working for your school or department, what's good about working for the university, and that's where some of the data that Charlene presented back there earlier on. So that's where we were able to get that good, rich, qualitative data. And then we move in and move around. But 90 minutes goes so fast that we find that we could stay longer, but we do not want it to turn into a griping session. We do want to make sure that it's solution focused as well. So we always bring it back. If they have a concern, well, you're doing the job, what might work well there. Is there another part to there today?
No, I think you answered most of them there. That's great, and I suppose it leads on to one of the first questions on the Q&A in regards to what type of questions do you ask in the surveys then?
Mm-hmm. So the types of questions, obviously, because we're facilitators, we obviously want the staff to do a lot of the talking as well in there. So what we would say tell us about the demand, say for around demands. So tell us about the demands of your job. What is your workload? What's the pace and intensity of the work like? So we try to lead with a few questions, and then we may have to probe depending on when the conversation goes. But what is lovely around the focus groups, when we see the light bulb moments happening between staff, which is actually lovely because maybe staff are working in the same area, but they haven't realised that something that is a concern to them is having an impact on another member. And when you see that happening in the room, and that, it's actually great. It's great seeing the light bulb moments happening between each of the staff.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Claire. So the next question then is, first of all, a thank you to both of you from UU for the presentation. And our attendee has said it sounds like a really robust approach to identifying local stress hotspots. And then the question is, can I just clarify, how often do you plan to repeat the SIT survey, and what the levels of uptake have been? Mm-hmm. And then another one with a few parts, also, are the key learnings from all of this being built into risk assessments at more local level, e.g. school or department?
Yeah, so the first question, what was the first question there, Nicola? Again,
first one is, can I clarify how often you plan
yes.
to repeat the SIT survey?
Okay, so obviously it is a survey, and survey based, we're basing everything around that survey. The process takes a little bit of time to embed, so we might run a survey now for a school. By the time we run the focus groups and by the time we get to the report and the action plan, it takes a wee bit of time. So that's where the standards actually suggest themselves roughly around every 24 months. So again, we have built a 2-year program around that 24 months. Once we are finished this final quarter, we are going to just re-evaluate basically what our findings are. We will have a bigger picture of that cumulative data from all the schools and departments. So again, that's one of the things. So around the 24 months is what is suggested by the Health and Safety Executive. And again, with regards to the second part was around
what have the levels of uptake been?
Yeah. So is something that we actually keep a very close eye on around. With regards to surveys, all of our school and departments have been brilliant and engaging with us. What we have found about the Prepare in the organisation, those areas that have been better prepared, we have had higher survey response rates. Okay, yes. So for example, some heads of schools maybe have launched their survey at a school away day. Okay, and where they have people in the room and maybe just able to use this QR code or etc. Particularly on that day. Others maybe have issued out, just depending on the nature, that they felt that didn't work for them, so they just issued it out via a link. We would keep them updated. But with regards to survey response, we're sitting in around 62% across the university. Isn't that right, Charlene?
And that seems quite high.
Which, yeah.
Yeah, we do have areas that are plus 80%, and we
Yes.
have found that those are the ones that are probably capturing the people in the room on the day, and that has definitely worked well, but it's not always sort of available to do that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And then the last part of that is, are the key learnings being built into risk assessments at a more local level, so e.g.
Yes.
school or department?
Yeah, so that's the key learnings from each of the areas, because they're quite specific in different schools and departments, which is why we've decided to do them at that level. There was so basically what the learnings are they're taken forward into the action planning, and then they're submitting the action plans into ourselves, which we're making sure that we're completing the risk assessment process. By making sure that we have that final step and then that ongoing improvement. So we're encouraging each of our areas as well to make sure that if they may be submitting an action plan, but it's something that they actually need to keep on their agenda at their team meetings, etc., like that, to keep it alive and keep momentum going. And because things will change, it may be demands as an issue maybe a month, maybe depending on the structure of work or changes within the university or depends within the school or department. They may find maybe relationship scores, maybe, but again, it's about keeping that active and making sure that the learnings that we have found from each of the areas are embedded into their action plan, and they're keeping that on the agenda then as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so someone has asked, do you see trends and responses to surveys depending on whether they are working from home or in the office?
That's something we haven't. I know that there is another element to the tool that you can buy from the Health and Safety Executive with regards to working from home. We haven't purchased that part. So we haven't gathered any data on that as such. We haven't seen anything specifically jump out, have we, Charlene, around working from home issues? Or
I suppose flexibility and hybrid working always does come up as a positive in all of our focus groups, that it's something that people really value, and they like the balance of being able to work from home and also then get into the campus and the office to have those sort of in-person connections, but we don't have any sort of data around that now.
Okay, thank you very much. And then I have another question. Where can I find acceptable percentages for the surveys? So this is back, I think, to the previous question.
Okay. So that's maybe something that you might reach out to the Health and Safety Executive around, the acceptable percentages. In their information that they have online. So for example, I think they maybe mention around the survey response rates. So for example, over 80 would be very good. Anything, under maybe 50, you would have to err on the side of caution, because if you only get 50% of your staff, you're not getting a true reflection of what's happening from all of your staff and the organisation. But I would check with the Health and Safety Executive again around that and some of the documentation that they have. So you'll be able to find that on their website as well.
Thank you.
And there's another question. Can you advise of who provides stress audits in the Belfast area?
Well, again, the Health and Safety Executive Mental Wellbeing Advisory Team may be able to assist with any of the organisations that are on here. Again, there's on the website, on the Health and Safety Executive website, there is somewhere that you can contact an advisor. They would be able to advise. They may not be able to take you through the full process, but they may be able to maybe host your survey for you and maybe mentor you through that. Other than that, you would have to be probably reaching out to consultants maybe that are doing stress risk assessments.
Okay, thank you. And there's another comment. Someone has said, thank you so much. I work in a children's regional secure care facility locally, and I'm doing a survey for diploma in health and safety on stress on young social workers and carers coming into NHS facilities, and it was a very helpful seminar. So just passing that on to you. No question in that one.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's all the questions that have been answered at this stage. So to round up, can I thank both Claire and Charlene again for presenting today. If you have any colleagues that you think would benefit from watching the webinar, you will find it uploaded to the members area of our website shortly, and Nicola will send out the information when this has been done. to non-members attending today, can I thank you for attending and to think about your organisation becoming a member. And just to confirm, that's the end of today's webinar. So thank you all very much for joining us. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and we hope to see you at the May Group meeting. Thank you.